Hari Om, good evening, a very warm welcome to all of you. Let's invoke the divine blessings. Om. Asato ma sad sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya sahana vavatu sahano bhunaktu saha viryankaravavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. O Lord, the Almighty, the Omniscient, the Omnipotent, the Omnipresent, who also has the divine name Sthavarahasthanuhu, such a magnificent Lord, together with Shraddha, Bhakti, and Prapatti, we offer our humble salutation to seek your grace, your love, your mercy, your kindness, your strength, your forgiveness, your resilience. O Lord, bless us with the divine qualities Shraddha, Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya, Prapatti, Mumukshutvam in much more proportion, only and only to understand thy true self right within our heart, to have the first-hand experience of this divinity within, the Aparoksha Anubhuthi. We beseech in you that at the end of our lives, may we reach thy holy feet. Our humble salutations to the Guru Parampara. Om. By the grace of the Almighty and with the blessings of the Guru Parampara, today we are on our Divine Discourse number 390 on the 20th of August 2024. Prodhi Nama Samvatsara Dakshinayana Varsharuto Shravana Masa Krishna Paksha Bhauma Vasare Pratamatitau Shatabisha Nakshatra Atiganda Yoge Kaulava Karane. On this auspicious day of Tuesday and the auspicious time of the evening, we all take an oath, make a firm resolve in our minds that, O Lord, I know you are the mastermind. I know that whatever is coming to me in my life is only at your behest. Thereby, I accept all situations, circumstances, incidents, happenings, be it through a person, a place, or objects. They are all coming only and only to uplift life. Keeping this firm resolve in my mind, I accept each and every aspect of my life, that it is filled with the divinity, and I see you in every incident and aspect of my life. I pray that the faith continues and enhances, and eventually, as I understand that you have framed all this to uplift me from this ocean of births and deaths, I completely surrender to you. Om. Good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you once again. So, now the next few sessions are going to be extremely important in terms of we practicing the practicals. See, you may want to learn dance, let's say. You see somebody dancing. You may watch them for 10,000 hours. But unless and until you start moving your legs, you'll never be able to make anything out of it. You know, just listening is one aspect, but then bringing it in practicality, bringing it in terms of making an effort with our mind and body and see where you stand. Like, you may be looking at food which is served in front of you, but unless and until it goes inside your mouth and down your throat, you will not be able to quest your hunger and get energy out. So in the same way here, we have to focus. Whatever knowledge we have, now this is the real testing time for us. So, and I'm sure you all will fare extremely well and you will start getting results. So today, what are we going to learn today? What are the pearls of wisdom? I'll just take you through. So verse 23, we are going to go in much more detail. We just barely touched the concepts in the last session. How does a person not get worried by the heaviest of sorrows? Now the technique over here is explained. Only getting the meaning doesn't make sense. But there is a specific technique which is written in the commentaries, and we have derived this technique from there. So I'll explain that to you. So now, does a miracle happen here to get us out of these sorrows? Some kind of a divine light comes on us, or some extraordinary thing happens within us. Does anything like that happen? This is a question. Sorry. No. Knowing the technique and practicing it alone can make you achieve this. So you have to practice. Like, where is your ignorance? Your ignorance is in your mind. So knowledge to the mind of the guru or the neighbor, that's not going to do anything good to you. You have to get rid of the ignorance which is in your mind. So knowledge has to come within you. So this way, now we have to practice. So now we have designed the system so very well that we are going to go on this practice. No doubt about it. Now, we will study the brain at length, know how it functions, and understand what needs to be corrected in the brain to be in a state of sorrowlessness. Okay? Relating to how the brain can take care of this. So now there are several tests which have been undertaken. So you will have that clarity. So how to do that? That will be taught. Now, Harvard case study which proves the process. So whatever we are talking, it's not just a scriptural knowledge. It is now proved by case studies by Harvard University. So we are not reinventing the wheel. It's a time-tested and a proven case. So today's discourse will be a union of science and spirituality. And now when you say spirituality, suddenly what comes to your mind? I think I'm not that old for spirituality. Let me enjoy my life, finish everything, and then finally, when I get old, I'm retired, I have time, that's when I'll take up spirituality. No. Like, say you bought a mango, it's now ripe. When do you eat it? You don't eat it when it is raw, and you also don't eat it when it is overripe. You try to wait for the right time when it is just ripe and good enough to eat. Will you eat an overripe mango which is all sunk and depleted to see? No. So in the same way, if you have become old, it is that stage. What is the point of doing? Makes no sense. So in the same way, now here, when you are vibrant, when you have the energy, when you have the capability, you have to take up spirituality. And I'll tell you, spirituality means become sorrowlessness and be always blissful. This is what is the immediate result you will get from spirituality. And now, what more you want in life? After having got this, tell me, is there anything you want to achieve? And I would call as moksha a byproduct. If you're not, I don't know, who wants moksha and all this, we don't understand that. If you're thinking on those lines, then consider moksha as a byproduct. But immediately, what you're looking at happiness is only there and there, nowhere else. Talking of permanent happiness. The rest in the world, what we get are all pleasures. If somebody tickles you, it is pleasurable. It's that kind of a thing. So there is a difference between bliss and pleasure. So here we'll be getting that ultimate feeling of bliss. So this is all in store for today. Now let's dive into discourse. I'll first give you a recap of what the last few verses are talking about, and then we'll go to this today's verse. So as you have seen, first Lord Krishna answers Arjuna's question. Now, do you think me following the path of karma is that good, or I follow the path of sannyas where there is meditation, things like that? What do I do? So there, Lord Krishna convinces him that karma yoga is the path which is more suitable for you. So that way, then he tells him about how to what should be the place in which you should meditate, and what should be the diet, and what should be your rest of the disciplinary actions during your life. All that now he has explained. Now he's focusing only on the mind. See, now he's taking you to the highest level. In verse 19, he talks about just as a lamp in a windless place does not flicker, so should be your mind. Because if you do not have a stable mind, you will not be able to achieve what is going to be told over here. Like if you want to practice archery, and if your hands are shaking, and if your mind is not stable, then what will you be able to do? So in the same way, Lord Krishna tells that first thing is your mind has to be stable. Now in verse 20 he says, for that you holding your body, head, neck erect, and gazing at the tip of the nose without letting the eyes move, and with a calm mind, he says the yogi achieves steadiness in meditation. So now what should one be doing here? The vision is at the tip of the nose, meaning it is downwards, the vision, but the mind has to be at the Ajna Chakra. This is the method. Okay, what you're seeing, vision is what you're seeing practically or literally. Your eyes are a little open, because if you close them completely, and you may doze off after some time. So keep your eyes a little open, bare enough to see the floor, and that is your vision, meaning your sight, but your concentration should be on the Ajna Chakra. Now in this way, now verse 21 talks in a steady mind, free of distractions and undisturbed by external factors, the yogi attains a state of perfect mental tranquility. Now verse 22. This state of meditation he describes as the highest spiritual knowledge. So where the yogi has realized that supreme being, and when he realizes such a state, his true state, and he says he is not affected by pleasure or. This is the background to our entire study so far in this chapter. Now we will take verse 23. Let's explore and see what it has to say. Shri Bhagavanuvāca tam vidya dukkha sanyogam viyogam yoga sanyitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinya chetasa. Very well explained over here. I'll first tell you the word by word meaning. Then you will get a real flavor of this particular stroke. So, tam vidyat, that which you should know. What is that? Dukkha sanyoga viyogam, that state of separation or severance from union with misery. Now we are all in misery. So here he says, how do you come out of that misery? What is that state? So he says, yoga sanyitam means that is true yoga. This is one different meaning of yoga what he has given over here. So far what we all understand yoga means yuj. Yuj is the root word which means to join, to be together. So what is yoga? the Atma and the Paramatma coming together is yoga. Okay, so here he says, he talks about this yoga sanyitam. So he says severance from the union with misery. Now I am stuck with misery. I want to sever that, separate it. So he says that is true yoga. Saha, that nishchayena, with firmness. He says yoktavyaha. Now this has to be practiced with firmness. What this yoga? Nirvinna chetasa, meaning with an undeviating mind. So in this way, tam vidyad dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sanyitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yoga nirvinya chetasa. So he clearly says, this is the yoga which you have to practice. Now, if you are in a state of sorrow, what will you be able to achieve? Okay. Now, how do we move forward? How does such a person not get affected by the heaviest of sorrows? He is talking of this particular yoga. What is that? I want to know. What is this yoga? So here Lord Krishna says, he has focused on that one word, dukh. Dukh means sorrow. So that dukh aspect in each and every individual's life. Now it is because of this dukh, our life is affected. And to what extent? To a devastating extent. So it is this dukh which causes turmoil in everyone's life. And it derails a person in some cases. Some, they get into a state of depression. And they even go to a state of committing suicide. So it is from dukh a person would want to be always free. Now Lord Krishna does not talk about sukh at all, because he knows that the jiva or the person can handle sukh, and rather he would be inviting, I want more and more sukh to come in my life. It is only what concerns is the dukh, and we want to always keep it at a distance or run away from it. So it is dukh which we find it difficult to handle in life. We get broken down, so we pray to God. Every day we pray and we seek His blessing. Protect me from this dukh. Or we say, give me the strength to bear this dukh. Or please ensure that I get rid of this dukh. Nobody will go to God and say, oh God, please give me the strength to handle sukh in my life. Meaning I'm getting so much sukh, please give me the strength. No, nobody does that. So now before learning how to handle dukh, let's analyze. Now I'm coming to the core aspect, okay? One, what is dukh? Let's understand that. Why does this dukh or sorrow come in one's life? So now how does a yogi handle dukh in his life? Samvidyat dukkha sanyogat viyoga yoga iti sanyitaha. As the shloka says, if you analyze this, an event which is external gets merged with the sankalp. Sankalp is the vritti, the thought which is already there in my mind. Each one has got some thought in a mind, like say my son or daughter should get married, or if they are married, I need to get I want them to get a kid, and or if they are studying, I want them to get admission in the best of the schools, in colleges. So this is that vritti or a thought which is there in your mind. Okay. Now there is a thought, and then actually there is an event which is happening. Okay. Now what is that event in relation to your thought? Now if I say I want my daughter to get admission in one of the best colleges of the world, universities of the world, now that is a thought I have in my mind. If the result is against my thought, or that sankalpa vritti what I had, that desire in the form of a thought which was there, it immediately creates dukh. This is the scientific analysis of how what it happens. I have a thought, the result being against, in contrary to the thought, immediately there is a thought of sorrow that is known as dukh. Okay. Now what I do is, there is a faculty known as aham bhava, that is I, me. What I do is, I get sanyoga, dukkha sanyogam, meaning what I do? I merge with this dukkha vritti and I become dukhi. This is the technical aspect here. There is a thought, event is contrary to the thought. Now that equals to dukh. But here this person who is that I, aham bhava, the mind takes you and sanyogam, it merges you with that vritti and it makes you dukhi. Now if I do not get merged, that sanyoga means I don't get merged with that, with the dukkha vritti, I opt for viyogam. As the shloka says, samvidya dukkha sanyogam viyogam yoga sanyatat. So I keep separateness, viyogam, I keep a distance. Then what happens is, I become a drashta, the witness to this particular event which is happening in my mind. Knowing that dukkha is different from me, it is an object. Whatever I can see, I can feel, I can perceive is nothing but an object, including the thoughts in your mind. Don't we know that we are happy? Don't we know that we are sad? Don't we know that we are tired? Anything which you can understand and see and perceive, they are all objects. So if I keep away, I become a drashta. Like something wrong is happening to somebody. Am I not a drashta to that? Say a dog is being beaten on the road. I am a drashta to that. I will not get the rashes on my body, or it will not cause pain. I may feel emotionally a little hurt because an animal is being hit. Same with a person. You will be, unless and until you merge with that. Now you will experience this when somebody is very close to you. Your spouse, your children, your parents. When they experience difficulty, you see, if not the same amount, you will have a decent share of dukkha in you, because that person is no different from you. Always you feel that that person is a part of you. So that sanyogam we have created in our mind. So anything which affects that person, your loved one, you will feel it, because your sanyoga, your mind is in union with the other person. So it be it your mind or somebody else's mind. So what the Lord says is, just as you see a third person whom you do not know and something happens to him, you are a drashta there. There is no sanyogam, there is a viyogam, meaning a separatedness. And this happens by a pure state of practicing, being a state of drashta or a witness. I am not a dukhi. I become a drashta of the dukkha. That sankalpa thought which I had in my mind, that vritti, an event occurred which is not in line with what the thought was. Eventually there was dukkha. Now I don't go and join that dukkha. I stay apart and I'm seeing this whole dukkha will be there but different from. Now for example, there is fire. Now as far as I'm watching the fire as a drashta from a distance, what harm does it cause to me? But no sooner I become one with the fire, I go and put my hand in the fire, let's say, the fire will definitely burn me and it will cause me pain. So this, the Vishaya, what we call the subject, the incident, which is pratikula, it gets merged, sanyoga, with the vritti thought in the mind and becomes a dukkha vritti. Some external news goes into our mind, which is against, contrary to what you desire. Whatever desire, meaning that sankalp, and creates havoc by becoming a vritti. So here, this contrary news going into your mind, where I already have a desire that so and so thing should happen, and since it is not to my expectation, that is a sure shot for pain. That is the reason Lord Buddha again and again said, desire is the cause for sorrow in your life. The same thing he has said in a different. So the sankalpa vritti mixed with the dukkha, becoming a dukkha vritti, and you embraced that dukkha vritti and you became a dukhi. Now Lord Krishna says, what he says is, this vritti pratikula vishya. Now this is a natural process. You can do nothing about it. Just like a fire burns, water wets, in the same way, this is a natural process. Desire, contrary event, dukkha vritti happening, these are all natural. But what you can do is, he says, don't get mixed up with that. Rather stay away from the dukkha vritti and become a mere drashta. Now this has to be practiced. Maharshi Vyasa, when he, in his commentary on the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, he says, Evam vritti samsar chakram aharnisham avartamanam. Evam vritti. This vritti, samskar chakram, it is in a constant rotation motions. It's always rotating. Aharnisham, always. Avartamanam, day and night. So it will keep coming, going, keep coming, going. So that is the constant flow of thoughts in your mind. Normally our basal ganglia, which we call, is active in every common individual. But a yogi who has meditated, now he strengthens his prefrontal cortex. We are going to talk about all this now. He strengthens his prefrontal cortex, willpower, and he develops that power to become a drashta. Basal ganglia, it automatically takes over. There is a dukkha vritti, aham bhava goes and sits on it, and you become a dukhi. But you get a few seconds when you strengthen your prefrontal cortex. That's what we do in Sukshma Vyayama with Medha Shakti Vikasaka. And in chakra practice, we do Agnya chakra strengthening. So what does that do? That prefrontal cortex is strengthened. And when you strengthen the prefrontal cortex, that immediate process of that conjoining, you get a chance to get away from that. That sanyogam does not happen over there. So this becoming a drashta and not a dukhi. So to become a dukhi, it's a natural process. You don't have to do anything, but with this technique, you can look at the dukkha vritti as a sakshi drashta, and this is that yoga sadhana. Samvidya dukkha sanyogam viyogam yoga sanyitam. So what is the sadhana here? I am a drashta. That is a drishya. Drishyam, what we call? It is a sight. I am the seer. So drishyam is dukkha vritti. So if I remain as a drashta, I maintain that gap to the dukkha vritti, I will not be a dukhi. But if I join without maintaining a back, I do become a. So tells us now, Lord Krishna tells us here, you are not a dukhi, you are not a sukhi. Again, next level he says, even you are not a sukhi, because when something happens the way you wanted, then there is joy. It is a sukha vritti. Now there again the I goes and says, I am happy, I am sorrowful, I am miserable. So I joining everywhere, you become that. So he says, you are neither a dukhi nor a sukhi, you are a drashta always. That is that samatvam what he talks about. Now, I will tell you my personal experience how to practice this. If you start your practice with the dukkha vritti, it sounds difficult. It may take a long time. So what I recommend is, which I was doing, whenever there was a sukha vritti, something which happened to my liking, and suddenly I could see that there was a sukha vritti and my aham bhava goes and sits on it and I become happy. Now there I restricted. I did not conjoin my aham bhava to go and sit with the sukha vritti. I distanced myself and I became a mere witness to the sukha vritti. Let's say if now I wanted my daughter to get a scholarship in the best uni and she got. Oh, so I'm so happy. It's such a proud moment for me. Oh, what is this happening? There is a mind, there is a thought, there is a desire, and there is an event which is in line with the desire. And sukha vritti is a natural process in the mind. Why should I become happy? I am only a drashta. So if you practice when there is sukh, then what happens is you will easily be able to get over a dukkha vritti. So, sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo anirvinya chetasa. So, what does anirvinya chetasa mean over here? Without deviating from this practice, if you stay in this knowledge, for example, you get some good news, you get happy, you observe it as in the same way for sukha vritti is not permanent, it goes away. Dukkha vritti is also not permanent, it goes away. They both keep coming and going. You just be an observer. If you are having dukkha, you will see that sukha is at the door waiting and knocking to come in. So don't feel depressed when you are in dukkha. Be an observer and know that sukha is coming there. Dukkha is inside, sukha is waiting at the door. And the same, if you're feeling happy, don't feel too elated and jump around. No, dukkha is waiting at the door. So just be an observer and be stable. And interestingly, sukha and dukkha, their impact actually diminish over a period of time. The worst of sorrows and the best of joy, they will not be the same at every point of time. Let's say you're very near and dear person, he dies a sudden death. After hearing the news, there could be a situation where you can faint also. Say you're in your 30s or 40s, at a very early age, your spouse collapses. What happens to you? You may faint. But just see what is the situation after a day. We have all seen this in our life. A massive stroke of dukkha which has hit that person. After a day, what is that person's state of mind? After a week, what is the person's state of mind? After a month, what is the person's state of mind? And after a year, what is the person's state of mind? Within a month or so, they are almost normal. If not a month, 3 months, they are normal. Then they are back into going to restaurants, going to movies, buying stuff for themselves, and slowly attending parties. After a year, though, it is absolutely. So, this dukkha and sukha, they don't have that impact for long. Entire life is momentary. So, what makes this kind of a situation happen? Agatita gatana patiyasi maya. It is the role of maya. It does not allow that because it wants you to go to the next state. It keeps you in that cycle. It will not leave you there. So what we love to have, don't get. And what we hate to get, we always get. And so in this way, now what Lord Krishna says is, Sanishcha yena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinya chetsa. Now, if I want to be established in this Sakshi Bhava, Arey, this is, I'm sold now. Tell me, I want to practice this and get in this state. So the Lord says, I will explain this in the next verse. He gives us a fair idea of how to seek this and make this knowledge practically ours and live by that knowledge. So this will learn in the next course, in the next verse. But what I propose is, I propose that we will study about the brain. Because before getting this knowledge, we need to understand how a brain is constructed. We all have heard mind. Again and again we hear mind. And we have also heard about a brain. Now, what is the difference between a brain and a mind? If you ask this question, the brain is the hardware, like your mobile. Brain is your mobile instrument, and the mind is the software. It is like the app in the mobile. You just have a mobile, let's say, and you don't have an app. Can you order food? Can you book a ticket? So all this, that software, if you want to make a call, there is a software for making calls. If you want to do a WhatsApp text, you have to download the WhatsApp. So that is all the mind portion. The apps, the software is the mind, and the hardcore instrument is the brain. So now if you see, in the entire stretch, Lord Krishna is talking about the mind, the software part. Now here, for our convenience and understanding, we are going by the hardware part, which is the brain. Let's get a fair idea of how this brain is structured, and also let's listen to the various experiments which have happened from time to time, so that will enhance our confidence. It will boost our belief, faith, trust in what we are studying. Why am I putting so much of effort in all this, giving it a holistic view or a 360-degree view, is to ensure that by all means we have to achieve. That is the endeavor. Now we'll move to the next portion, which is the studying of the brain. Now I'll just show you some pictures of the brain so that you have a fair idea. So now these are the brain is divided into three portions. The neocortex, which you can see, the human brain, what we call neocortex. Second is the limbic system, and the third is the reptilian complex. Now I'll be explaining in detail, but just have a look at these. I've got three different pictures of the brain. Now as I explain, I'll take you to these pictures once again. Now the second is the limbic system, which if you get an idea, you see I was talking of the basal ganglia, then hypothalamus, pituitary gland, amygdala, then hippocampus, pineal gland, thalamus, cerebellum, all these come under the limbic system. And then there's one more which is known as, now here we're talking about the neurons, the synapse. Synapse, you can see on the top you have this circle. Now what is a synapse? Look at each and every aspect of the brain over here. So complex, this hardware system. Now we'll get into these details. So first, to understand the body and mind connect, we will do a simple exercise. What is that exercise? Now you have a line here, okay? At the end of your palm, you have a line. Now join both the lines. Join this way, and you can see that one finger, just look at the middle finger. One middle finger is shorter and the other one is longer. Can you see this? Am I clear? When you take this together, now you see my right is longer, my left is little shorter. Okay? Now what you do is you hold on these lines. Now remember that your left, whatever your middle finger, whichever is shorter, you remember that. Now close your eyes and 8 times you tell you're growing tall, you're growing tall. You say on those lines 8 times to the finger which is short. You'll see for yourself now. Okay, close your eyes and say 8 times. Visualize that finger and say, you're growing tall, 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 growing tall, you're growing tall. Now separate your palm and then again you put them together and join your palm and see. You can do this exercise with anybody. Passive. This is the power of the, So this particular study, which I'm now going to talk about the brain, is done by one Dr. Shweta Adatia, who is a neurologist in Dubai. And now she has found many intrinsic aspects of the brain, collected all this data. So I was following and studying her notes. So now we move forward on this. An ant has about 25,000 neurons. 25,000 neurons, okay? See the beauty. Now an ant, when it collects food, say it collects a seed and it takes it into the hole wherever it is storing for its rainy season, it takes it inside. What it does is it breaks the seed. The reason, the seed should not germinate again. Otherwise it will germinate. It will nicely grow into it'll get a sapling there. So what it does, it breaks. Now a coriander seed, if you break it into two, it can still germinate and grow. So what cleverly it does is, a coriander seed, when it collects, it breaks it into 4 parts so that it doesn't germinate. Now imagine an ant having 25,000 neurons in its brain in comparison to we as humans having, remember 25,000, we as humans have 10,000 crore neurons. This is the power of our brain. So now we are going to study about this massive brain cluster. 2% of the body weight. If you see this in terms of the weight of the brain, 2%. But the kind of function it does, it consumes 20% of the body energy. I'm giving you some brief facts about the brain. And as I mentioned, it has 10,000 crore neurons. In that picture, what you saw, I'll once again show it to you. You will be able to see those neurons. Now, I'll show it right away. That will make sense. So now, here you can see the dendrites, synapse, that circle on the top. Then you can see that nucleus. All these are a part of a neuron. Okay, now going further on this, every little neuron, as I told you, it has, we have 10,000 crore. Every little neuron has a tail, that is that synapse. You can see that kind of a tail kind of a thing. Now, if one connects the tails of all the neurons, what we have got in the small brain which is inside our skull, the distance is roughly about 1,80,000 kilometers. Now, why are we studying so much about the brain? Let me first tell you that. To ensure that we are getting optimum results from this study, number one. And number two is to know the creator. And this mind, body does not belong to you. Do we have the capacity to even think of making such a kind of a instrument? So, to ensure that our study is optimum, and also to easily give up that this mind is not mine. We say, no, body is not mine, mind is not mine, only to enable us to go to that stage in life. And what is this body? Now it has a psycho, neuro, physio, immuno, endocrinology, a combination, conglomerate we talk. 5 different things are happening in the body. What is psycho? It refers to all the psychological factors, which are about emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. Then neuro, it pertains to the nervous system, which include the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves. Then physio, now general physiological processes of various organs and systems in our body, which could be the heart, the lungs, the pancreas, the adrenal glands, the liver, the kidneys, all that physio. Immuno, it relates to the entire immune system, a protection against all the foreign bodies and disease causing germs, that protection, immunosystem, immunology. And comes the endocrinology. Now this takes care, this involves the endocrine system, which consists of the glands that produce hormones, where it's regulating various body functions. Now this field investigates how these systems interact and influence each other in maintaining health and contributing to being disease free. For example, it looks at how stress, a psychological factor, can affect your nervous system. We have heard, again, Harvard study has proved that 80% of the diseases are all mind related, which is a psychological factor. So this stress, being a psychological factor, can affect the nervous system, which in turn can influence our immune system and hormone levels, ultimately impacting overall health. So by understanding these complex interactions which are happening in our body, researchers aim to develop better strategies for preventing and treating various diseases. So this way, coming back. Now, in the context of this brain functioning, that synapse, what you are able to see on the top, which is in this circle, it refers to a junction between 2 nerve cells, that is the neurons. So these junctions are called synapses. So they allow neurons to communicate with each other by transmitting signals. What a massive creation is this. So like, for a simpler way to explain this is, think of neurons as tiny messengers in your brain. Like you have somebody in your house, you want to tell that, you tell your person in the house, it could be a child at home or a young boy, girl, or somebody elderly. You tell them, go and tell the neighbor so and so message, give a message. So when they need to send a message, now see how it happens. Now we go running out of the house, we ring their doorbell, and we tell them, we give them the message. Now if a message has to go from the brain, from this synapses, they release chemicals known as neurotransmitters. These chemicals travel across a small gap between neurons, which is that synapse. Now that neuron then picks up the message and continuously passes on to the next neuron, next neuron, next neuron. I told you the length 1,80,000 kilometers. So synapses are essential for all kinds of brain function. Like what? Like thinking, moving, feeling emotions, talking, all functions. They help that information flow smoothly. Now what I'm thinking in my mind has to come to my mouth, and in coordination with my tongue and my voice, I have to say what I have in my mind. So that's why we say every second almost a lakh reactions are happening in the body. 1 lakh reactions. So they allow you even right from solving puzzles to laughing with friends. So in the context of neuroscience, a synapse refers to that junction between two neurons. Okay, now each of the neuron, it connects to the other. As I said, it is a synapse. Now what is the speed? How many synapses are growing in a body? Like from a child, they say every second in a child 7,500 synapses grow every second. So what this means is that all this synapses growth happen between 0 to 6 years, where the entire blueprint of the brain is happening. So every second you spend with every say a minute you spend with a child, 2000 7,500 synapses into 60. That is the kind of a growth you can see in terms of synapses alone. I'll just calculate that for you. It comes to 4,50,000 synapses in 1 minute, where your information, what you're sharing with the child, is becoming a blueprint in the minds of the children. So that's the reason, if you see, we remember our teachers who were in our kindergarten up to the first and second standard. The most reason is they have created that impact in us when the blueprints were being formed. Now coming back to the main part, I'll give a brief again. This reptilian brain, I'll show the picture now, these three functions, three brains what we have. This reptilian brain, it is the most ancient part of the brain, which includes the brain stem and the basal ganglia. Okay. Now what does it do? Basic functions of the body, all the basic breathing, your heart, or if somebody attacks you, you have a response to fight. But if you don't have the strength, it is flight, meaning you run away. So all these, which we have seen, what animals do, flight or fight, these two responses is taken care by this particular brain. This is the first thing which was developed in each and every living creature. Then came the limbic system, which later developed in all the living beings. It includes the structure like amygdala, hippocampus, and various parts of the hypothalamus. Now what does this do? There was emotion, any emotions, motivation, memory, learning, all this became a part of the limbic system. Now remember this limbic system. Now our pain comes from this limbic system. That is what we are interested in. We are looking at, we don't want pain in life. We don't want sorrows in life. Okay. Now how, if the limbic system is impacted, how our pain goes down? That's what I finally want to achieve over here. So this part of the brain is associated with behaviors, the functions in the mammals, which over a period of time developed into more social, complex and emotional behaviors compared to reptiles. Then comes the neocortex, the neo-mammalian brain. Earlier, paleo mammalian brain, that is the limbic. Now comes that new mammalian. So now in the most recent evolutionary edition, you have this particular part of the brain which has developed. Now what does this have? High cognitive functions like reasoning, problem solving, and language. Now more and more languages were coming. Earlier there was no language. Talk about 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 years before. And the discrimination part, what is good, what is wrong, what is bad, all that is decided by the neocortex. So this part of the brain is well developed in humans compared to other animals. Animals do not have this neocortex at all, or they have very marginal, but in humans it has developed. So this is contributing to our advanced intellectual abilities and our complex social behavior. So for especially spiritual seekers who are practicing meditation, chanting, this neocortex is very well developed. Okay, so now a gist, the initial reptilian brain, survival function or fight or flight. Okay, then comes the limbic, which you have that emotion and motivation, care, concern. Like as you see, cats, dogs, elephants, how much they care for their kith and kin. So this is all by this limbic, and neocortex for cognitive abilities. As I told you, viveka, discrimination, that makes us different. And so thereby this particular neocortex is like the kingpin what we can talk. Now some more details. Every single day we have about 40,000 to 60,000 thoughts on an average which cross our mind. And majorly what are the thoughts? They are related to only three things: money, health, relationship. And in that money comes your work, business, or your job, profession, whatever it is. That comes under the money aspect, health and relationship. Okay. Now, if one has a very developed neocortex, then the neocortex which I'm talking is in the front. Okay. Where we call as Medha Shakti, we do that exercise, right? So Medha Shakti, that is your neocortex. Now, then your complex thinking comes in reflection. You start to quickly understand what is good, bad, what is wrong, right, when I should be doing this. Of late, what has happened is this neocortex, what we are talking about, that is something which not much people are not bothered about it. So it is becoming more like an animalistic thing. Like for example, they say, now we have all crossed COVID. Now there is a new pandemic which has hit the advanced countries, especially the US. And you know what is the pandemic? Loneliness. Everybody is feeling lonely. They say on an average 40% of the public in US are feeling lonely. And what happens by loneliness? Stress is an immediate aspect of. So when you have a very well developed prefrontal cortex and you have a very tight control on the thoughts, emotions, then what happens is you're completely de-stressed. You ask a spiritually advanced person, he will want to be alone. And what in bliss? That is the strength of his prefrontal cortex. Now, coming to this limbic, what does it do? It gives you that fight or fright, I told you, right? Flight or fright. It gives you that worry, that anxious moment, fearful moments. Now, this is caused by the limbic system. So now what these neurologists did was, they started mapping the brain. Now we are coming to the core part. And they saw all the neurons which were firing in the brain. And what they were able to understand is that These, when you are in a state of worry, flight, anxiety, this particular limbic brain was actively portraying whenever there was sight of fear or worry, anxiety. Now, they also did various tests on another person who was calm, quiet, peaceful. There they saw that the brain, the part of the brain which was firing, was the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex, because he was calm, centered, contented, fulfilled. Okay, so now you're able to understand the front portion of the brain, when it is in active, that means you're calm, centered, and fulfilled. And when your limbic system is active, you always have the tendency of fear, distress, anxiety. Okay. Now, another thing which we need to understand, this again for your academic interest, you have the beta waves, the alpha waves, the theta waves, and the delta waves. Just understand this, because at some point I'll be taking up at what wavelength our mind has to be. Now, what is a beta wave? Being alert, you're thinking of something, you're concentrating on something. So that is where your beta waves are active in your brain. Now, what is an example? Like, say you're a fruit vendor, you're a lecturer, you're a housewife, you're a cook, you're a doctor, or you're consulting a patient. Now, these are all where some amount of attention, alertness is required. You're driving a car, so that is your mind is at a beta state. Now next comes the alpha state, where it promotes meditation, creativity, and relaxation, where you close your eyes and you are breathing deep and you have settled your mind. Now, for example, a doctor is reading the reports of a patient, and then he closes his eyes and he goes into deep thoughts about the patient or the diagnosis. He's thinking, what should I be doing? That is where he has taken his mind to a alpha state. Okay. Now, just before going to sleep, that is known as a theta state, where you're going into a kind of a trance. You're just before dreaming, that is a state of visualization. All these where the number of waves movement in your brain is at a much lower level, that is the theta wave. And then when you go into a deep sleep state, that is known as a delta wave, which is you have a transcendence or a restoration period, that becomes a delta wave. Now, this is for knowledge. When we want this, we will apply. I'll once again give you a recap, and we'll take this. Now, what they understood was the state of alpha and theta are the best for sadhaks. You should not be very attentive. Like, just as a fruit vendor is there are 4 people asking him prices, and somebody is giving money, somewhere is weighing the stuff. Is interacting just like a conductor in a bus conductor, or you're driving a car. He says that is not the right state. You should be in an alpha or a theta state when as a sadhak. And what they found out, now I get up and or I'm doing some work and I come back, I would say I want to meditate. How do I go to the alpha and a theta state? So there they say a single Brahmari, just one single Brahmari will make your brain super focused and relaxed. One breathe in and breathe out. Breathe out should be 15 seconds. 15 seconds if you are able to breathe out, then you have made good in terms of the brain going to the state of alpha and theta, which can take you to the next level. Okay, I didn't realize it's already 7:10. We'll get going for the meditation, and more details on this brain, we'll take it up in the next class. So today we are going to do the Aparoksha Anubhuthi Sadhana Dhyana number 3. So before that, I'll quickly Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Let's do the Vishnu Sahasranama, verse number 46 and Namavali 47. Vistarastavaрастануః pramanam bijam avyayam arto narto mahakosho mahabhogo mahadanah. 427. Stavarastanuః, the firm and the motionless. The firm means achanchala, indicates that he has no moments because he is all pervading. Sthanuhu means motionless, means that he is fixed like the pillars that denote the frontiers of a country. That is Sthanuhu. The term here used are as one word because the Lord is both these at one and the same time. He is not only all pervading and therefore no moments in him, Stavaraha, but he is also without any locomotion, Sthanuhu. Both these terms indicate the all pervasiveness of Lord Vishnu. Such a Lord, we offer our humble salutations, seek His grace, mercy, and blessings. Now, we come to Dhanvantari Mantra. Without good health, nothing can be achieved in life. 3 times. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. We offer our humble salutations to the God of health to give us the requisite amount of health to achieve Aparoksha Anubhuthi Sadhana. Om. Now, please come. Let's prepare ourselves for a very effective meditation. Now, what we do? We first do Anulom Vilom. Okay? Anulom Vilom. 3 times Anulom Vilom and 3 times we do Brahmari Pranayam. And then I take you, handheld, I'll take you to the meditation process. Anatma. To know the supreme reality, you don't have to go anywhere, nor you have to do anything. What you only need to do is know what you are not. So what we are not, if you do that, then we are done. So with these thoughts in mind and some more instructions, we are going to cover 3 rows in the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. The first row 12, second row 12, the third row 12. First 2 rows are only to bring you to the level of concentration. So that's why I have mentioned about a square, and in that square you are pasting a photo of Lord Shiva. All that is to ensure that there is some work for the mind so that it remains on what you want. But those of you who are able to catch hold of the mind and place it at one point, fair enough. You don't have to do that process. It's not compulsory. Because in this group, people are at different levels. So I have recommended the basic level. Our intention should be to eventually raise the mind and dissolve in the universal consciousness. So in that state, even if you keep listening to whatever I am saying, you've already reached that state. Okay. So that will only further boost your confidence. So you don't have to worry much about it. So in this way, you have to follow this. I will not be chanting the entire 12 mantras, first row, second row. I'll be ringing a bell, so which means the next row is going on. And the third row, I'll be giving my commentary. Now, if somebody has got another mantra from earlier, they have got a Diksha and they're practicing some other mantra, please continue with that. You don't have to come to this Mahamrityunjaya. Whatever mantra you are comfortable with, chant that. That's the reason I'm also not chanting. But the third mantra I will be, since we have to combat with the Maya Shakti, and Maya Shakti is ordained by Ishvara, Shiva. So we're using Shiva over here. First, let's do 3 Anulom Vilom and bring our brain in the right format for effective and optimum results. Head, neck and spine in a straight line. Relax your forehead and continue. You all can see me. Take your breath. By now it should have equalized. Now let's do the Brahmari. You're closing your eyes and your ears, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Exhale should be 15 seconds and more, but try to do as much as you can. Please don't push yourself too much. 3 times. Keep your eyes closed. Now we'll move forward. Your brain is well prepared to activate the prefrontal cortex and eliminate or reduce all the sorrows which keep you anxious, fearful, and worrisome. Apart from that, you're getting rid of the anatma and moving towards an experience of your true self within. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। Second line. Now we come to the third line. I may have to extend by about 8-10 minutes to effectively conduct balance meditation. Now we are on the anatma process. Knowing our true self. By not knowing, by knowing what we are not. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। श्रोत्रं समर्पयामि. The ears and its capacity to hear do not belong to me. They belong to the Creator, the Almighty. All the functions of the ears, like listening, and its experiences, are happening in consciousness, by consciousness, and through consciousness. I am a drashta, a sakshi, to all that the body, the ears are doing. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। त्वक् समर्पयामि. The skin and its sense of touch do not belong to me. It belongs to the Creator. the Almighty. All that the skin of this body is able to touch, perceive, feel is happening in consciousness, by consciousness, and through consciousness. I am a mere Sakshi to every person of perception of touch in this body. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat Chakshuhu Samarpayami. The eyes and the power to see does not belong to me, it belongs to the Creator, the Almighty. All that the eyes are able to see, perceive, and experience are happening in consciousness, by consciousness, through consciousness. I am a Sakshi, witness, a drashta, all that the eyes, this body is seeing. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat Jihva Samarpayam. The tongue and the sense of taste does not belong to me, belongs to the Creator, Paramatma. All that the tongue of this body is tasting, perceiving, and experiencing is happening in consciousness, by consciousness, and through consciousness. I am a mere witness, a Sakshi, and a Drashta to all this. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat Granam Samarpayami. The nose and its sense of smell does not belong to me. It belongs to Paramatma. All that the tongue, the nose is able to smell, all the fragrance, the odors, the smell is happening in consciousness, by consciousness, through consciousness. I am a mere. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat Vak Samarpayam. The power of speech does not belong to me, it belongs to the Creator, Prakriti, Paramatma. all the words spoken by this body, the experience are happening purely in consciousness, by consciousness. I am a mere Sakshi awareness. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् पाणीयं समर्पयामि. The hands and its function do not belong to me, they belong to the Creator, Prakriti, Almighty. All the movements of the hands are happening in consciousness, by consciousness, and I am a pure witness. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् पाद्यं the legs and its function do not belong to me, they belong to the Almighty. All that the legs can do and experience are happening in conscious, by conscious. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् the genitals and its reproductive capacity does not belong to me, it belongs to the Creator, Prakriti, Paramatma. All the actions of the genitals and the experiences are happening in consciousness, by consciousness, and through consciousness. I am a Sakshi, Drashta. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् पायुः समर्पयामि. The anus and its ability to perform do not belong to me, belongs. The anus and its excretory function are happening in consciousness, by consciousness, and I am your witness. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् मनः बुद्धि चित्त समर्पयामि. The mind, the intellect, memory, and its function do not belong to me, it belongs to the Almighty. Say every word with conviction. Feel the thought and experience the meaning. The feelings, thoughts, emotions of the mind, the decisions taken by the intellect, the memories of the memory part are all happening in consciousness, by consciousness, through consciousness. I am a pure witness, Sakshi. Om Trambakam Yamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukameva Bandhanan Mrityurmukshiyamamritat Aham Samarpaya. The sense of Aham Bhava, the feeling of Aham does not belong to me. It belongs to the Maya Shakti. All the feelings in this jiva as a karta, bhokta, the sense of I, me, mine are all happening only in consciousness, by consciousness. The all-pervading Parabrahman, Paramatma, has created this jiva, endowed with a body, senses, prana, mind, intellect, memory, and ego. By default, the creator through Ishvara and Maya Shakti has given this jiva the sense of ego. Now, this sense of ego is making this jiva think that it is the doer, it is the experiencer, and it is the giver. Thereby, this jiva is accumulating papa and punya. As a result, taking birth after birth to experience this sukha through papa and dukkha through, and constantly circling in the ocean of samsara, sometimes being born as a human, very rarely, most of the times as a worm, an insect, a bird, a fish, a tree, a reptile, an animal. Now, by the special grace of Ishvara on this jiva is experiencing is endowed with this self-knowledge, the Atma Jnana, through Ishvara, Shastra and Guru. The light of this divine knowledge has shattered and broken the Aham Bhava and completely destroyed the Aham Shakti. As a result, this jiva is now experiencing the divine right within, the Aparoksha. From the state of mind that it is the body, mind, and senses, it has now understood its true nature, which is the Atma, the awareness right within the heart, and thereby realize that Atma is the essence of the Paramatma. Both are the same. Tattvamasi. Prajnanam Brahma. Ayam Atma. And eventually, the Jiva is firmly Aham Asmi. Aham Brahma. Aham Brahma. Aham Brahma. Paramatma alone is the supreme. Rest all is illusion. Mithya. Paramatma is Satya. Rest all. Paramatma alone is Satya. Be in this state of more time. Keep saying within your mind, ask Om Slowly bring your attention to your breath. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Together we offer today's Gita Jnana Yajna and the Aparoksha Anubhuthi Sadhana Dhyana at the lotus feet of the Lord. Seek His grace, mercy, blessings. Shri Krishna Arpanam. Idam Namam Naham Kart. Hari Prayer. Hari Preeti. Good evening to all of you once again. So keep practicing, just practice, nothing beyond that. You already got what you need to focus on, the method, system, just practice. And it's not that you are doing, it's the Lord Himself who is doing all this. In that state of mind, surrender and go with the flow. You'll reach where you want to.